Hi everyone. The analysis is on the food consumption patterns and health. My name is Samyuktha and my teammate is Sandhya. Before we move on to the actual analysis, we will look into the previous work carried out in this field. The US Department of Agriculture has conducted a lot of study involving food consumption patterns and the agricultural produce in the US. USDA has also conducted studies on consumption patterns specific to USA. Few studies were conducted on taste preferences and food intake. The analysis is based on CRISP-DM methodology, and similarly our presentation is also organized in the same fashion. The objective or the business problem here is to analyze the relationship between nutrition, health and lifestyle across the world, to analyze the food consumption patterns across different countries, to analyze the health-related attributes and find relationships, if any, with food consumption and other lifestyle attributes across different countries. The next step in the process is data understanding. Here, the data is explored to check on its quality. Data exploration is done through auditing the data via IBM SPSS modeler and getting the statistics of the data through IBM statistics. Necessary modifications that are to be done for the further processing are also noted. Then we move on to the data preparation. The data set that we used had a lot of different attributes corresponding to the type of food consumed. Such attributes are combined to form a common category. For example, the attributes cheese, whole milk, butter and ghee are combined together as dairy. The data is also partitioned to training and testing, 70% and 30% respectively, to be used for the predictive modeling. The variables which are continuous are altered to categorical variables to be used for association mining. The next step in the process is modeling or visualization. The major modeling technique used in this project is clustering using IBSPSS modeler. Predictive models are also built for few of the attributes using neural networks. Association models are built to find the association between clusters formed on the basis of different criteria. Tableau is used for visualization and reporting. This is a sample data snapshot. We have done a cluster analysis on the data using K-means algorithm. The resulting number of clusters we got were 3, and the clusters are profiled based on high, medium and low food consumption patterns across the world. Based on profiling and distribution, the clusters seem to be quite reasonable. We can also see that cluster 1 has medium consumption of food products when compared to clusters 2 and 3, which have low and high consumption of food respectively. The lifestyle of clusters 1, 2 and 3 are classified as medium, low and high. This is a pictorial representation of clusters with respect to consumption attributes. We have also represented the distribution of the clusters geographically for a better understanding, to know that how the cluster distribution is done across the world. We have also done a cluster analysis based on the health attributes. When we compare the clusters from the food consumption patterns to the clusters here, we can see that the prevalence of cholesterol and obesity is more related to the food consumption behavior. This is again a pictorial representation of the clusters using the health attributes. This is a geographical representation of the cluster with respect to the health attributes.
Now we'll get into the association mining. Association mining is done on the clusters in order to find the association between clusters formed on the basis of food consumption and health attributes. The data set is altered in such a way that the attributes carry high, low and medium values instead of its original value. One thing that we found interesting with this association mining is that consumption of food products and cardiovascular diseases and the non-communicable diseases are negatively correlated, whereas prevalence of cholesterol, obesity and diabetes are positively correlated to food consumption. Tuberculosis is one exception with this. This is further analyzed using predictive modeling. Neural network model is run to predict the incidence of tuberculosis. The predictors that are found to be important are usage of tobacco, access to improved sanitation, access to improved drinking water sources, and alcohol consumption. With this predictor importance, we can see that these are the reasons for tuberculosis to be placed in cluster number 2, which correspond to the countries having low value for lifestyle. Now we go into the results from predictive modeling. From the metric result, we can see that the prediction accuracy is quite reasonable. Though the predicted class is not exactly the same as the actual class, it does a decent job in predicting the categories, at least in the one-away class, which is a notable thing. Now we go into the analysis of obesity based on the consumption of dairy and animal products. The color legend corresponds to the consumption and the label corresponds to the obesity value. From the representation, we can note a very strong relationship between obesity and the consumption of dairy and animal products. Now we go into an interesting analysis which compares mortality rate with lifestyle. Here, the color legend corresponds to the mortality rate and the label corresponds to the gross national income per capita. From the results, we can infer that the mortality rate is high in the countries having less gross national income or the countries which correspond to the lower lifestyle category. Now we get into the analysis of alcohol consumption with respect to gross national income per capita and the latitude of the countries. The results indicate that alcohol consumption is high in countries with high gross national income. Also, an additional interesting inference is that alcohol consumption is high in the countries located far away from the equator, where the temperature is less. Now we get into the analysis of cardiovascular diseases and non-communicable diseases with respect to dairy consumption. From the result, we can notice that there is literally no or sometimes the negative relationship between these attributes, which is quite noticeable. And these are the lessons learned from this analysis. The countries with high gross national income have high food consumption rate. On the contrary, the countries with low gross national income have high mortality rate among adults. Cardiovascular and non-communicable diseases have negative correlation with dairy consumption patterns. Tuberculosis is highly prevalent in countries with low gross national income, which in turn turns out to be the countries with poor lifestyle. Alcohol consumption is high in countries with high gross national income and high or low latitudes. Obesity in men is highly correlated with food consumption pattern when compared to women. And the future scope of this project would be an in-depth analysis can be conducted on various other diseases with respect to food consumption patterns and other lifestyle related parameters. Other countries apart from these 84 countries considered for this study can be analyzed by collecting additional data specific to those countries. By conducting further analysis, success rate of new products that are to be introduced in the market can be predicted. And these are reference sites. We hope you found our analysis interesting. Thank you.